you learn about the intracranial dural venous sinuses. Okay. The intracranial dural venous sinuses. Out of them, you need to know about each and every sinus, but the most important sinus of all, of which you should know each and everything, is the cavernous sinus. Okay. So, what is cavernous sinus? Cavernous sinus are paired dural sinuses. That is, they are two in number. Each sinus has a length of 2 centimeter and a width of 1 centimeter. Okay. Each sinus is situated on either side of the body of sphenoid bone. That is, in the middle cranial fossa, these sinuses are located. Why this is called a cavernous sinus? What is meant by sinus? Sinuses are blood-filled spaces, and these are formed between the two layers of the dura mater. One is the meningeal layer of dura mater, and other is the endosteal layer of dura mater. You know this thing. Similarly, this cavernous sinus is also formed between the endosteal layer of dura mater and the meningeal layer of dura mater. In this cavernous sinus, the roof and the lateral wall are formed by the meningeal layer of dura mater, whereas the floor and the medial wall are formed by the endosteal layer of dura mater, which is actually the endosteum of the bones of skull, of the base of skull. Why this is called cavernous sinus? What happens in this sinus? There are multiple trabeculae. Multiple trabeculae divide this venous space into incompletely fused, in large number of incompletely fused venous channels or venous spaces or caverns. These venous spaces are called caverns, which are divided by the trabeculae. So this is called cavernous sinus. What is the extension of this cavernous sinus? If you remember the base, the interior of the base of skull, in the middle cranial fossa, it is present. Anteriorly, it extends to the superior orbital fissure, and posteriorly, it reaches up to the apex of the petrous temporal bone. Each cavernous sinus is simply lined by endothelium. It doesn't have any muscular tissue. It has no valves in it. It is a simple endothelium lined space which is present between the two layers of dura. These are paired and these are divided into multiple small spaces or caverns by trabeculae. So this is the interior of the skull. This is the middle cranial fossa region. This is the body of sphenoid bone. These are the lesser wing and these are the greater wings of sphenoid bone. This is lined by dura mater. This shining, this glistening structure is the dura mater. These are lined by dura mater. So on either side of the body, you can see these spaces. This venous channel, which is cavernous, not seen here, it has been removed over here. This is a cavernous sinus. So the extension of cavernous sinus anteriorly to the superior orbital fissure, posteriorly to the apex of the petrous part of temporal bone. This is a coronal section of the sagittal. This is a coronal section of the cavernous sinus. So here you can see that its floor and the medial wall is formed by the endosteal layer of dura, whereas the lateral wall and the roof are formed by the meningeal layer of dura mater. You can also see here that this roof of the cavernous sinus medially is continuous with the diaphragma cell, which covers the pituitary gland. It is also a dural fold which covers the pituitary gland. So these are two paired cavernous sinuses, and these are present on either side of the body of sphenoid. Now the relations of the cavernous sinus. You know that each cavernous sinus is located just on either side of the body of sphenoid. So the relations will be superior relations. You can appreciate here in this picture. This, what all structures lie superior to the cavernous sinus. This is the optic chiasma. After that, there is optic tract. This is the cut section of the optic tract. So superiorly, optic chiasma. After optic chiasma lies the optic tract and internal carotid artery. This internal carotid artery lies in superior relation to the cavernous sinus. How it lies in superior relation to the cavernous sinus, I'll tell you later as I tell you the course of the internal carotid artery in the cavernous sinus. So the superior relations are optic chiasm, the crossing of the optic nerve, then optic tract and the internal carotid artery. You can remember the anterior perforated substance as well. It is simply a neural tissue present in this region. You will come to know about it later in the neuroanatomy. Inferior relations of cavernous sinus. This is the location of cavernous sinus. Okay. Anteriorly from the superior orbital fissure up to the apex of petrous temporal bone, on either side of the body of sphenoid lies the cavernous sinus. Okay. So we talked about the superior relation. Now the inferior relation of cavernous sinus. Inferiorly lies a foramen. This is the foramen cecum. Sorry, I'm so sorry. This is foramen lacerum. This is foramen lacerum. And also this inferior is related to junction of the body and the greater wing of sphenoid. So the inferior relations of cavernous sinus are foramen lacerum and junction between the body and the greater wing of sphenoid. Then the medial relations. You can see very easily in this picture. Again, this is a coronal section through the cavernous sinus seen from the posterior aspect. And what all could you see here in the medial side? This is the cavernous sinus. Medially, this is pituitary gland. This is pituitary gland present in the hypophyseal fossa, in the middle cranial fossa. And just below the pituitary gland, in the body of the sphenoid lies a sinus, sphenoidal air sinus. These are also paired sinuses, sphenoidal air sinus. So they lie medially to the cavernous sinus. So the medial relations of the cavernous sinus are pituitary gland or hypophysis cerebri, a very important gland, and sphenoidal air sinus. Lateral relation could be memorized very easily with this diagram. This is the diagram you should practice with cavernous sinus. Lateral relations, laterally, this is the cerebral hemisphere. This is the cerebral hemisphere which is covered with meninges. So, which part of hemisphere will lie in relation to the cavernous sinus? Temporal lobe of the cerebral hemisphere. Temporal lobe of the cerebral hemisphere will be present in lateral relation to the cavernous sinus. Second is cavum trigeminal, containing the trigeminal ganglion. If you remember, the trigeminal ganglion is present in the anterior aspect of the petrous temporal bone. It is present in the anterior aspect of the petrous temporal bone in the middle cranial fossa. So the cavum trigeminal, which contains the trigeminal ganglion, is present lateral to the lateral to the cavernous sinus. Here lies the trigeminal ganglion. Here is the trigeminal impression for the trigeminal ganglion, which itself is covered in a fold dura, that is the cavum trigeminal. So it lies in lateral relation to the cavernous sinus, and also the lateral lobe or the temporal lobe of the cerebral hemisphere also lies in lateral relation to the cavernous sinus. I've written here uncus. Uncus is part of the temporal lobe of cerebral hemisphere. Okay. So you can simply memorize the temporal lobe of cerebral hemisphere in the lateral relation to cavernous sinus. So these are the relations of cavernous sinus: superior relations, inferior relation, medial relation, medial relation, and lateral relation. All the relations could be easily understood by this diagram. Then a very important aspect of cavernous sinus: what are structures present in the cavernous sinus? Few structures are present. If you see the cavernous sinus here, so few structures are present in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. Two structures are passing through the cavernous sinus. These two structures, these are passing through the cavernous sinus, whereas these four structures lie in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. So what are the structures present in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus? ये structures कहाँ पे present होंगे? These structures will be between the meningeal layer of dura mater and the endothelium of the cavernous sinus. Okay, these structures are present between the meningeal layer of dura mater and the endothelium of the cavernous sinus. What are these structures? From above downwards, these are all these structures are nerves. From above downwards, oculomotor nerve, that is third cranial nerve, trochlear nerve, that is fourth cranial nerve, then ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve, and below that maxillary division of trigeminal nerve. So in the lateral wall of cavernous sinus are present four nerves in the above downward manner. These nerves are oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve, and maxillary division of trigeminal nerve. What does it mean? That these four nerves, they are traversing the cavernous sinus so as to reach further to their area of distribution. So these are the structures in the lateral wall of cavernous sinus. You should always you'd have these structures at the tip of your fingers. Okay, so from above downwards, these structures are third cranial nerve, fourth cranial nerve, first division or the ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve, and the maxillary division of trigeminal nerve. Now the question arises, where is the mandibular division of trigeminal nerve? How does the mandibular division of trigeminal nerve exits the skull? Exits the skull. It exits through the foramen ovale, if you remember. So these were the structures present in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus from above. Second thing is the structures which pass through the cavernous sinus, that is which pass through the venous blood. These are the two structures: internal carotid artery and abducens nerve, that is the sixth cranial nerve. Internal carotid artery and abducens nerve. What is the relation of abducens nerve to the internal carotid artery? It is inferolateral to the internal carotid artery. While passing through the cavernous sinus, the abducens nerve is inferolateral to the internal carotid artery. Now, these two structures, They are not in direct contact with the venous blood filled in the cavernous sinus. No, they are not in direct contact, but they are separated from the venous blood by an endothelium lining. Okay, an endothelial lining separates these two structures from the venous blood, and here these structures are present between the meningeal layer of dura mater and the endothelium in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. Now the question is, how does all these structures reach or enter the cavernous sinus? Okay. Now this oculomotor nerve and trochlear nerve. If you remember the oculomotor trigon, what is oculomotor trigon? Oculomotor trigon, I have not shown here the oculomotor trigon. Oculomotor trigon is, this is the anterior clinoid process, this is middle clinoid process, and this is the posterior clinoid process. You all know. Now the attached margin of the tentorium cerebelli is attached to the, here is the attached margin of tentorium cerebelli, and here is the free margin of tentorium cerebelli at the anterior clinoid process, the free margin, the U-shaped margin. Okay, so just anterior, just medial to the posterior clinoid process, there is a crossing between the dura which is attaching to the anterior clinoid process and the dura which is attached to the posterior clinoid process, or you can say the attached margin and the free margin of the tentorium cerebelli, they cross just medial to the posterior clinoid process, and they are present as a triangular depression in the roof of the cavernous sinus, which is called oculomotor trigon. So the third and fourth cranial nerves, which are formed in which emerge from the brain stem, that is the midbrain, they pierce the roof of the cavernous sinus, or you can say they pierce the oculomotor trigon, and then they reach the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. The oculomotor nerve lies superior to the trochlear nerve. What about the ophthalmic nerve and the maxillary nerve? The trigeminal ganglion lies in the trigeminal impression in the anterior part of the petrous temporal bone. From the anterior part of this trigeminal ganglion arises these three branches of the trigeminal nerve, that is ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular. Ophthalmic and maxillary divisions, they pierce the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. From here, they arise from the convex part of the trigeminal ganglion present in the trigeminal impression, and then they pierce the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, and then they lie in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus below the third and fourth cranial nerves. Then what about the sixth cranial nerve? Do you know about a ligament, that is petrosphenoid ligament? Petrosphenoid ligament. Do you know about it? I don't know you know about it or not. Petrosphenoid ligament is a ligament structure which connects the apex of petrous temporal bone to the posterior clinoid process. The apex of petrous temporal bone is connected to the posterior clinoid process by a ligament called petrosphenoid ligament. This sixth cranial nerve, that is the abducent nerve, passes below the petrosphenoid ligament, या you can say एक foramen जैसा बन जाता है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे ये जो खाली gap होता है between the posterior clinoid process and the apex of petrous temporal bone, ये gap बंद हो जाता है because of this petrosphenoid ligament, और उसके नीचे जो जगह बन जाती है उस जगह से abducent nerve enters into the cavernous sinus, and there it lies inferolateral to the internal carotid artery. Now, what about the internal carotid artery? From where does the internal carotid artery enters the brain? it enters by the carotid canal. It traverses the carotid canal and through the foramen lacerum, it appears here. Then it passes upwards and enters into the carotid sulcus, present just lateral to the body of sphenoid. And above this carotid and over here lies the cavernous sinus. Okay, so this internal carotid artery, when it enters the interior of the skull by the foramen lacerum, it goes upwards and then forwards. It traverses forwards in the cavernous sinus. Then it passes. Then it goes straight. It goes straight forwards in the cavernous sinus, and then it takes a sharp turn and goes upward to pierce the roof of the carotid cavernous sinus, so as to come out of the cavernous sinus, and from there it goes backwards. That's why in this picture you can see that the internal carotid artery lies superior or in superior relation to the cavernous sinus. So what happens? The internal carotid artery, which appears in the neck by the division of which is one of the terminal branches of common carotid artery, this ascends upwards and then it traverses the carotid canal. By the canal, it opens through the foramen lacerum into the cranial fossa. There it takes a sharp turn upwards and then it goes forwards into the carotid sinus. As it reaches into the anterior aspect of carotid sinus, it takes sharp turn upwards and it pierces the roof of the cavernous sinus, and then it is present here. From there it goes backwards, slightly backwards. We will talk about it afterwards. So as to lie in the superior to the cavernous sinus. So the structures in relation to cavernous sinus, in the lateral wall, the structures present are from above downwards, oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve, and maxillary division of trigeminal nerve. Then the structures which pass through the cavernous sinus are internal carotid artery and abducent nerve. Abducent nerve lies inferolateral to the internal carotid artery. Now, because cavernous sinus is a venous sinus, that means it will be draining blood from the surrounding structures. Drains blood mostly from the eyes or orbit, you can say meninges and brain. It receives blood from the orbit, meninges and brain. So all the veins which drain the blood of orbit or brain or meninges into the cavernous sinus, they form the tributaries of the cavernous sinus. So the tributaries of the cavernous sinus are superior ophthalmic vein, inferior ophthalmic vein, and sometimes central vein of retina. So these three veins, they drain the blood of the orbit into the cavernous sinus. Superior ophthalmic vein, inferior ophthalmic vein, and central vein of retina, tributaries from the orbit. Then sphenoparietal sinus and frontal trunk or the anterior trunk of middle meningeal vein. Middle meningeal vein has an anterior trunk and a posterior trunk. The anterior trunk is also called frontal trunk because it lies in relation to the frontal bone. So these two structures, sphenoparietal sinus and frontal trunk of middle meningeal vein, they drain the meninges, they drain the blood of the meninges into the cavernous sinus. So these two are the tributaries from the meninges. Third is from brain. Superficial middle cerebral vein, ये एक ही नाम है पूरा, ठीक है? Superficial middle cerebral vein and few inferior cerebral veins drain the blood from the brain into the cavernous sinus. So there are 7 tributaries of cavernous sinus: superior ophthalmic vein, inferior ophthalmic vein, central vein of retina. Here you can see in this picture, blue one, ये line by in these blue dotted box, superior ophthalmic vein, inferior ophthalmic vein, central vein of retina from the orbit, phenoparital sinus, and the frontal trunk or the anterior trunk of middle meningeal vein from the meninges. And this purple one, superficial middle cerebral vein and the inferior cerebral vein. They drain from the blood from the brain into the cavernous sinus. So these are the, this is a diagrammatic representation of the cavernous sinus with its tributaries and connections and communications. So these are the tributaries of the cavernous sinus. Then second thing is the communications of the cavernous sinus. That is, this cavernous sinus can communicate with various venous channels. What are those? ठीक है, cavernous sinus एक venous channel है, वो किसी और venous structure से communicate कर रहा है, और वो किस structure की help से या किस channel की help से communicate कर रहा है, ये भी हमें पता होना चाहिए. तो पहले हमने tributaries की बात करी. Tributaries were from the orbit, from the brain and from the meninges. वो veins के नाम हमें पता होने चाहिए. Then there are communications. कौन से venous structure से वो communicate कर रहा है cavernous sinus, और किस vein की help से communicate कर रहा है, ये हमें पता होना चाहिए. So मैं यहाँ पे इसे पढ़ दे रही हूँ, उसके बाद मैं I'll show you the communications in the diagram. So it communicates with the transverse sinus via superior petrosal sinus. Then it communicates with the internal jugular vein via inferior petrosal sinus. It communicates with the pterygoid plexus of vein via emissary veins. Emissary veins which pass through the foramen ovale, foramen lacerum. They communicate the pterygoid venous plexus with the cavernous sinus. Then very important, very important, that is communication of the cavernous sinus with the facial vein. It is by way of two routes. I'll tell you about these two routes, and I have already told you actually about these two routes in our talk about the venous drainage of face. So it communicates via superior ophthalmic vein, and it also communicates via pterygoid plexus of veins. Then the two cavernous sinuses, they communicate with each other by way of anterior and posterior intercavernous sinuses. Anterior and posterior intercavernous sinuses communicate between the two cavernous sinuses. Then it communicates with the sagittal sinus through superficial middle cerebral vein and superior anastomotic vein. It also communicates with the internal vertebral venous plexus, plexus present around the vertebrae, by way of basilar venous plexus. Basilar venous plexus. So I'll show you the communications. These are the communications. Most of the communications can be seen here. These are the cavernous sinuses. So the superior petrosal sinus communicates the cavernous sinus with the transverse sinus. Inferior petrosal sinus communicates it with the internal jugular vein. There is communication between the two sinuses by way of anterior and posterior intercavernous sinuses. Then this is the basilar venous plexus present on the clivus. So this basilar venous plexus communicates the cavernous sinus with the internal vertebral venous plexus present around the vertebral column. Then superior sinus का communication नहीं दिखता है इस पिक्चर में, and हमें almost सारे दिखते हैं. Then जो एक और important communication है, this is the communication of cavernous sinus with the facial vein. This is very important, or the most important communication you can say. This facial vein communicates with the cavernous sinus by way of two communications. One is the superior ophthalmic vein. This angular vein communicates with the superior of facial vein, drains into angular vein. This angular vein drains into superior ophthalmic vein, which goes into the cavernous sinus. Okay, this is one route. Then which is the second route? This facial vein, this is connected to the pterygoid venous plexus. Now, what is this pterygoid venous plexus? If you remove the zygomatic arch and then part of the mandible, you will come across the pterygoid muscles in the infratemporal fossa. So in the substance of the muscle lies this plexus, this pterygoid venous plexus. So this pterygoid venous plexus is present in the substance of the pterygoid muscle in the infratemporal fossa. It will be taken afterwards. So this pterygoid venous plexus is in communication with the facial vein by way of deep facial. If you remember the venous drainage of face, it is very easy for you to memorize it. So this facial vein communicates with the pterygoid venous plexus by way of deep facial vein. And this pterygoid venous plexus by way of emissary veins. These are the emissary veins. By way of emissary veins, it communicates with the cavernous sinus. Okay, so these are the communications of cavernous sinus. These are the communications of cavernous sinus. As the cavernous sinus is a blood-filled space or a venous space, the regulation of blood flow in the cavernous sinus is done by expansile pulsation of internal carotid artery present in the substance. The pulsation of internal carotid artery regulates circulation of blood in the cavernous sinus, then the movement of the head and the position of the head, and then gravity. These three factors are responsible for the regulation of the blood circulation or the blood flow in the cavernous sinus because it is valveless. Now, why the cavernous sinus is a very important topic. This cavernous sinus in itself will always come in your exams as short or a long question as well. So, why is it important? It is clinically important because clinically you could have you could observe two clinical aspects. One is the cavernous sinus thrombosis. The spelling is of thrombosis I have written is wrong. Thrombosis, cavernous sinus thrombosis, and second is carotico-cavernous fistula. What is cavernous sinus thrombosis? You know that the cavernous sinus thrombosis is in communication with the veins of orbit, with the veins of face, and also with the vein of pharynx by the pterygoid plexus. So any infection in these regions, you must, if you remember the dangerous area of face, so any infection in that region of face will lead to a septic thrombus formation in the blood, in the venous blood over there, and that septic thrombus will reach to the cavernous sinus by way of the communications which we all talked about. Okay. So if any septic thrombus reaches to the cavernous sinus, it will lead to cavernous sinus thrombosis. जब cavernous sinus thrombosis हो जाएगी तो जो cavernous sinus है वो अच्छे से drain नहीं कर पाएगा. So what will happen? There will be severe pain in the eye and forehead. The person will be having severe pain in the eye and forehead because of involvement of ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve. Then there will be ophthalmoplegia. Ophthalmoplegia is paralysis of ocular muscles. Ocular muscles मतलब कि जो eyeball को घुमाने वाली muscles हैं, उनकी paralysis हो गई है. Ophthalmoplegia, paralysis of ocular muscles because of involvement of third, fourth, and sixth cranial nerves. All these nerves are responsible for the movement of eyeball. You will read it later. So ophthalmoplegia because of the involvement of third, fourth and sixth cranial nerves. Then there is, because venous drainage तो हो नहीं पा रहा है, venous drainage blocked है, तो orbit का क्योंकि venous drainage नहीं हो पा रहा है, इसलिए there will be congestion in the orbit. So orbit will be congested, which will lead to marked edema of the eyelids. There will be marked edema of the eyelids. eyelids उसकी shiny लग रही है, बिल्कुल taut लग रही है, skin बिल्कुल taut लग रही है because of edema. There will be conjunctival chemosis. Conjunctiva बहुत ज्यादा red होगी और edematous होगी. ठीक है, ये जो रेड कलर की दिख रही है, दिस इज कंजंक्टिवल कीमोसिस. सो देयर विल बी कंजंक्टिवल कीमोसिस, मार्क्ड एडिमा ऑफ आईलिड्स एंड देयर विल बी प्रोप्टोसिस. प्रोप्टोसिस इज फॉरवर्ड प्रोट्रूशन ऑफ द आईबॉल, क्योंकि पूरा वैस्कुलर स्पेस कंजेस्टेड है, वैस्कुलर कंजेशन है, दैट्स व्हाई देयर विल बी प्रोप्टोसिस और द फॉरवर्ड प्रोट्रूशन ऑफ द आईबॉल. आंखें उसकी बाहर निकली हुई सी लगेगी एंड द पर्सन विल बी टॉक्सिक. Person will be having high grade fever and person will be looking toxic. So this is an emergency condition. This is an emergency situation and it is treated by way of a lot of symptomatic treatment and also by heavy doses of antibiotics. And furthermore, the primary site of infection should be taken care of first always. चाहे वो ऑर्बिट के आसपास कोई सेलुलाइटिस हो, ऑर्बिट के आसपास कोई इंफेक्शन हो गया हो, या फिर फेस में कोई इंफेक्शन हो गया हो, एक्ने का इंफेक्शन हो गया, इन्फेक्टिव एक्ने पड़ा हुआ है, या कोई भी ऐसा इंफेक्शन है, that should be treated first along with intensive antibiotic therapy and supportive and symptomatic treatment of the patient, and this might prevent your patient, but it is a very life threatening condition, cavernous sinus thrombosis. और आपको इसमें ये पता होना चाहिए कि जो ये फीचर्स आ रहे हैं ये क्यों आ रहे हैं. यू शुड नो द एनाटॉमिकल बेसिस ऑफ ईच एंड एवरी फीचर प्रेजेंट इन अ पेशेंट ऑफ cavernous sinus. Okay, so severe pain in the eye and forehead because of involvement of ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve present in the lateral wall. Usually the maxillary division is spared. Ophthalmoplegia because of the involvement of third, fourth and sixth cranial nerves. Then these three features because of the inability of the orbit to drain the venous blood, which will lead to venous congestion. So one applied is cavernous sinus thrombosis, then the other applied. This is, I have not seen this thing personally, but this is carotico-cavernous fistula. Carotico-cavernous fistula मतलब carotico, carotid, cavernous stands for cavernous, fistula a communication. So a communication between the internal carotid artery and the cavernous sinus. How does it happen? Due to severe trauma to the base of skull leading to rupture of internal carotid artery, which will lead to the arterial blood, the communication of arterial blood into the cavernous sinus. जो internal carotid artery का blood है वो cavernous sinus में जाने लगेगा. Okay, or it could be due to aneurysm of the internal carotid artery, or it could be due to some degenerative disease. So any of the diseases in which there is rupture of internal carotid artery and which leads to a communication between the arterial blood to the venous blood. What will be the features of carotico-cavernous fistula? There will be pulsating exophthalmos. Exophthalmos means protrusion of eyeball. Pulsating means वो heartbeat के साथ में वो जो protrusion है उसकी eye जो है वो heartbeat के साथ में बाहर आ रही है. ठीक है? Pulsating exophthalmos because the arterial blood is in communication with the venous blood. तो venous congestion तो हुआ ही है, but the arterial blood क्योंकि venous blood से communicate कर रहा है इसलिए वो pulsations आपको दिखाई दे रहे हैं. ठीक है, तो जैसे टक 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 करके उसकी आईबॉल जो है वो पल्सेट कर रही है, लीडिंग टू पल्सेटिंग एक्सोप्थेल्मस. देन दूसरा एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट फीचर होता है, अगर इफ यू पुट अ स्टेथोस्कोप ओवर द आईबॉल, ठीक है, इफ यू पुट अ स्टेथोस्कोप ओवर द आईबॉल यू विल हियर अ मर्मर, a murmuring sound. You will hear a murmuring sound because of the presence of arterial blood. This is called bruit. Okay, this is called bruit. The T is silent. A loud bruit or a loud systolic murmur. So ये जो है ये keratoconcavernosus fistula के characteristic feature. Rest of the features are similar to the cavernous sinus thrombosis, ophthalmoplegia because of the presence of third, fourth, and sixth cranial nerves. Then marked edema of eyelids, conjunctival chemosis, and proptosis I have already mentioned. बस इतना है कि ये जो proptosis होगी, this will be a pulsating exophthalmos or the pulsating proptosis where the eyeball is protruding forward with each heartbeat. And you could also you could also by auscultation you could also appreciate a loud systolic murmur or broom. So these are the two applied aspects of cavernous sinus for you. The cavernous sinus thrombosis is very important. Why the cavernous sinus presents with these features, and for this to understand this you should know about the cavernous sinus. और क्योंकि cavernous sinus पे हमेशा question आता है इसलिए आप इसे question की तरह पूरा तैयार कर लीजिए. क्या introduction, उसके relations, उसकी tributaries, communications, and then applied anatomy. So this is about the cavernous sinus. Do you have any questions? Today I have time.